Hey, aspiring sleep consultants and current sleep consultants, happy Wednesday. Super excited to go live today. I wanted to actually talk about how to talk to parents that you're working with about nap and sleep training. And I feel like, we create these topics like a month in advance, but it just so happens that I just finished working with a family and I was working with them to instill like naps and sleep. And so I just wanted to come in here and talk to you guys about that because I think there's so many different myths and misconceptions specifically as it my hair's like crazy today about naps and sleep training that it's super important to really knock it out of the park. So the first thing I want to talk about is I know there's a misconception out there that says like, okay, well, if you want your child to sleep through the night, they don't need to take naps. And that's not true because it's been proven over and over again by scientific communities and physicians that when kids don't take naps, especially when they're supposed to. So I'm talking about like a 6 month old, not a 6 year old, right? Like typically after three and a half, four, kids wean off of naps and they don't need naps, and that's okay. But I'm talking about like babies and toddlers. So if you think of, like I was the parent I was working with, the baby was 11 months and she was really fighting naps, and the dad was like, I don't think we even need naps, like look, can't she just sleep at night? And I was like, no, she's going to be extremely overtired. And so what happens when kids bypass naps is that they go into the fight and flight mode. So if you think of, running for, an hour, let's just say you go to the gym and you jog for an hour and then you come home and I'm like, okay, now go to sleep. Most of us, even though we're tired and exhausted and probably sweating, and you're not going to want to sleep because you have this hormone epinephrine in your body, right? And so that is a hormone that basically puts you in the flight or fight mode. And so that is our body's defenses up, right? We're not going to want to sleep. You want to be in the rest and digest mode when it's time to sleep. So when they're overtired, they produce this hormone. It's a stress hormone, and it keeps them from staying up. So if you've ever had a day, and I know I have, where you are so tired but you just cannot sleep, that's what's happening because your body is in this reactive mode, right? And so you want to tell parents, first of all, the foundation of why it's important. A lot of times, because we are sleep consultants and because we know these things, we kind of don't mention it, right? We just say, well, naps are important, but really going into the why, I've noticed, allows a lot of parents to understand why it's important and why it's important to have wake times, right? Because it's been calculated that for a baby of 6 months old, they should have 3 naps. And here's why, right? Going into the why is extremely important. So again, I always like to say start with the why. It's critical for when you talk about nap training and sleep training. And I do have some notes for the other points. So then the second thing is I want to ask you to emphasize the importance of sleep, right? So a lot of people, including me for a little bit, we really take sleep for granted, right? Like we're like, oh, like they'll sleep when they're tired, but it's actually proven to be essential for physical growth, brain development, emotional well-being, and just understanding that setting in boundaries as it relates to sleep is actually going to help instill healthy and better sleep patterns with your child, right? Which is going to influence other areas of their life. So they're going to be better academically, they're going to be better with physical sports, they're just going to be a happier, healthier person who has a good immune system. So anytime I talk to parents about nap and sleep training, I always bring it back to, again, the why of sleep and why it's important. And it's really important because I come from this culture of like, where when the baby's born, the house revolves around the baby. And I think that sometimes happen, right? Especially when it's a newborn and it does revolve around the baby. But eventually you want to set in the boundaries, right? Because I do think that children and toddlers thrive on boundaries. And so telling the kids that, like, hey, I understand that you're a child, but you are still the person that decides and makes the rules, it's going to really allow them to understand the importance of boundaries. And a lot of people struggle with boundaries. And I think that starts early on in how you talk to kids about that. So it's really important to start setting boundaries early. Okay. The second thing is providing clear and simple guidelines. So when you work with parents, don't overwhelm them with like a 20-page document, right? Keep your advice simple. For me, when I work with my parents that I work with, we typically, after the contract is done, they've made the payment, we do a 1 hour call. And even though I have a sleep management program, I pick out sections that I know will be really important to them specifically. So if a parent's struggling with weaning to sleep, or the naps are really short, or they're having like 3 a.m. wake ups, I will specifically talk about that during that call. and then I give them the document to review. But when my call with them, it's like super simple, right? Because again, the more you confuse parents, especially parents who are struggling with sleeping at night or like just tired all day because their baby refuses to nap unless you're holding them, you're going to overwhelm them and they're really going to have a hard time implementing instructions, right? So again, make sure that your advice is around wake times and sleep schedules, routines. You can talk about sleep readiness. You can talk about, implementing a sleep training method that works for them. You can use visual aids or handouts. And I think that typically helps a lot, right? And then my final point is be supportive and empathetic, right? Because I think this is, again, one of those things where there is so much judgment and hate out there for everything related to babies. Like if you breastfeed, you get, hate. If you formula feed, you get hate. Like there's just so much judgment out there. And as a sleep consultant, your job is to always support what the parent and the family wants to do for their child. So like if someone tells me like I want to continue to co-sleep, I typically say that's great, but unfortunately I'm not a good fit. But here's somebody that I know is great with people who want to co-sleep with their kids and she can help you. So referring them to them, but not judging them, right? I was hiring a potty training consultant for my 3.5-year-old about a year ago. And I talked to like a couple of people and ended up picking one that I absolutely loved and she's amazing. But one of the people I talked to, she's like, "Oh, why aren't you doing this?" And I immediately felt judged. And I think that's such a like toxic thing. And so when you work with your parents, just be empathetic, be supportive, listen to what they're saying. And if they're not a good fit for you to work with, and that's okay because we don't have to work with everybody, right? That's why we're in this business because you get to select. Then you can send them to a reference or a referral that you know of personally. But again, listen and be empathetic. So that being said, thank you so much for joining me on this live. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. As you always, I have this amazing pediatric sleep consultant course that's out there. It's a certification. It's for 6 weeks. And so for 6 weeks, I will basically build your entire business backend while you get certified and work with families. So if you are still not able to find a certification that works for you or aren't sure what to do, let's jump on a call and then I can walk you through our specific certification so that you can hit the ground running, right? Because imagine 6 weeks from now, you would have an entire business ready and you would be able to help so many parents out there that are truly struggling with healthy sleep for them and for their kids. So I really invite you to take me up on the invitation to book a call. Let's chat through it and let's see how I can help you and potentially you can help me. So with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your week and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.